Hello everyone, Stan Dane here. In the last video, we saw Roy Truly put on quite a show for the Warren Commission. Now it's Marrion Baker's turn. Okay, it's March 25, 1964. We now have Marrion Baker front and center before the Warren Commission. After his first affidavit on November 22nd and a statement to the FBI on November 29, 1963, Baker has been silent till now. His only two on-the-record statements involve seeing a man on the third or fourth floor walking away from the stairway and observing Oswald on the second floor of the building. As of this date, he has never publicly mentioned anything about a second-floor lunchroom encounter. Baker's testimony consists of more than 17,000 words. Several times throughout the entire transcript, the questioning returns to the second-floor lunchroom encounter. 7 times the questioning went off the record. I have selected excerpts associated with the Oswald encounter. As with Roy Truly, David Beelan is leading the questioning. Let's get started. You then ran into the building, is that correct? That is correct, sir. What did you see and what did you do as you ran into the building? As I entered this building, there was, it seems to me, like there was outside doors, and then there is a little lobby. All right. And then there are some inner doors and another door you have to go through, a swinging door type. As I entered this lobby, there were people going in as I entered, and I just spoke out and asked where the stairs or elevator was, and this man, Mr. Truly, spoke up and says, it seems to me like he says, "I'm a building manager, follow me, officer, and I will show you." So we immediately went out through the second set of doors, and we ran into the swinging door. All right. Now, during the course of running into the swinging door, did you bump into the back of Mr. Truly? Yes, sir, I did. Then what happened? We finally backed up and got through that little swinging door there, and we kind of all ran, not real fast, but, a good trot to the back of the building. I was following him. You went up the stairs then? Yes, sir. When you started up the stairs, what was your intention at that? My intention was to go all the way to the top where I thought the shots had come from to see if I could find something there, to indicate that. And did you go all the way up to the top of the stairs right away? No, sir, we didn't. As I came out to the second floor there, Mr. Truly was ahead of me. And as I come out, I was kind of scanning, the rooms, and I caught a glimpse of this man walking away from this. Walking away from this what, Marrion? Were you going to say stairway, but caught yourself? Were you having a flashback to your very first statement, your November 22, 1963 affidavit, when you said you saw a man walking away from the stairway? I happened to see him through this window and this door. I don't know how come I saw him, but I had a glimpse of him coming down there. Where was he coming from, do you know? No, sir, all I see of him was a glimpse of him go away from me. What did you do then? I ran on over there. You mean where he was? Yes, sir, there is a door there with a glass. It seemed to me like about a 2x2, something like that. And then there is another door which is 6 foot on over there. And there is a hallway over there and a hallway entering into a lunchroom. And when I got to where I could see him, he was walking away from me, about 20 feet away from me in the lunchroom. What did you do? I hollered at him at that time and said, "Come here." He turned and walked right straight back to me. Where were you at the time you hollered? I was standing in the hallway between this door and the second door, right at the edge of the second door. He walked back toward you then? Yes, sir. Was his back away from you or not as you first saw him? As I first caught that glimpse of him, or as I saw him, really saw him? As you really saw him. He was walking away from me with his back toward me. Can I suggest, if you will do this, put on there where the officer was and where Lee Oswald was, or the man who turned out to be Lee Oswald, and which direction he was walking in? I think that is quite important. Yes, sir. We are going to get to that with one more question, if I can, sir. When you saw him, he then turned around, is that correct, and then walked back toward you? Yes, sir. Was he carrying anything in his hands? He had nothing at that time. Notice how the earlier account of Oswald sipping a Coke has been completely eradicated. Think about this. Think about how this second floor lunchroom encounter places even greater pressure on the back end of Oswald's official 3-minute get out of Dodge timeline. He has the encounter with Baker at 12:31 and 30 seconds p.m. And according to Baker and Watusi Truly, he doesn't have a Coke in his hand. Then he has just 30 seconds to get the change out of his pocket, put it in the Coke machine, select his drink, wait for the cluck clunk of the machine to deliver his Coke. It doesn't happen instantaneously. Then grab it and leave the lunchroom, walk down the passageway and through the office area where he was said to be seen at 12:32 p.m. 30 seconds later. I guess it's theoretically possible, just like it's theoretically possible to change all the tires on your car in 4 seconds because a Formula One pit crew can do it that fast. Put it in the realm of not frickin' likely. Let me ask one other question. You later, when you recognized this man as Lee Oswald, is that right? Saw pictures of him? Yes, sir. I had occasion to see him in the homicide office later that evening after we got through with Parkland Hospital and then Love Field, and we went back to the city hall, and I went up there and made this affidavit. After he had been arrested? Yes, sir. As I came out of that stairway running, Mr. Truly had already gone around, see, and I don't know, as I come around, gone on around and up? He had already started around the bend to come to the next elevation going up. I was coming out of this one on the second floor, and I don't know, I was kind of sweeping this area as I come up. I was looking from right to left, and as I got to this door here, I caught a glimpse of this man, just, a sudden glimpse. That is all it was now, and it looked to me like he was going away from me. All right, then what did you do? I ran on up here and opened this door, and when I got this door open, I could see him walking on down. Had he meanwhile gone on through the door ahead of you? I can't say whether he had gone on through that door or not. All I did was catch a glance at him, and evidently he was. This door might have been, closing and almost shut at that time. You are pointing by, quote, this door, unquote, to the door on Exhibit 498? Yes, sir. You mean you might have seen him as he was opening and going through the door almost? Well, to me, it was the back of it. Now, through this window you can't see too much, but I just caught a glimpse of him through this window going away from me, and as I ran to this door and opened it and looked on down in the lunchroom, he was down there about 20 feet, so he was moving about as fast as I was. Remember those speed time distance problems in school where you had to figure out when train A racing at 70 miles per hour would meet train B putzing along at 30? Well, how about this one? Baker says he was running and Oswald was walking, yet Oswald was moving about as fast as he was. All right, I see a Coke machine off on the left. When you saw Oswald after you got to this doorway inside the lunchroom, had he gone as far as the Coke machine? I didn't notice the Coke machine or any item in the room there. All I was looking at was the man, and he seemed to be approximately 20 feet down there from me. Now, with relation to Exhibit 497, perhaps you can try to trace your route as you came out from the stairway as to the route you took and the point you were when you first caught a glimpse of some movement through that window or door. At the upper portion of the stairway leading to the second floor, I was just stepping out onto the second floor when I caught this glimpse of this man through this doorway. Officer Baker, you have just marked on Exhibit 497 point B where you thought you were. At about the time you caught a glimpse of something, either through a door or through the window in the door, marked 23. Is that correct? That is correct, sir. Could you trace your route from B to the doorway 23, if you would, sir? I ran straight across here through this doorway, and this is approximately where I would say 23 here is approximately where I looked through this lunchroom and saw a man on down here. All right, I'm going to put an arrow at that point on Exhibit 497, and this arrow in pen, I am going to put a B1, and at that arrow, which is just to the left of the circle with the number 24 in it, you say you then looked through the doorway and saw a man in the lunchroom, right? Yes, sir, walking away from me. Walking away from you. And then where did you move from point B1? I moved on to this position 24 right here in this doorway. Did you move from that time until the man came up to you? As I called, I remember moving forward a little bit and meeting him right here in this doorway. As you called, you say you remembered moving forward and meeting him right in the doorway, which would be marked with the arrow with number 24 on it on Exhibit 497. Is that right? That is right, sir. After you got there, did you move until the man came up to you? No, sir. You saw Oswald later in the lineup or later? I never did have a chance to see him in the lineup. I saw him when I went to give the affidavit. The statement that I saw him down there of the actions of myself and Mr. Truly as we went into the building and on up what we are discussing now. Under what circumstances? Don't go into detail. I just want to tie up these two situations. As I was in the homicide office there, writing this, giving this affidavit, I got hung in one of those little small offices back there while the Secret Service took Mr. Oswald in there and questioned him, and I couldn't get out by him while they were questioning him, and I did get to see him at that time. You saw him for a moment at that time? Would you state whether or not the man who was shown to you in the police station as Lee Harvey Oswald was or was not the same man that you saw and encountered in the second floor lunchroom of the Texas School Book Depository building on that day? He was the same man. Baker talks about seeing Oswald on the evening of the assassination while he was giving his affidavit. Why, in that affidavit, does he not mention the second floor lunchroom? Why does he not even mention Oswald by name? Did you say when you first saw this man walking away from you in the lunchroom, walking away in the opposite direction, that you said for him to come toward you? Yes, sir. Did he turn around? Yes, sir, he did. As I entered that depository building, people were running toward you. I don't know whether they worked there or whether they were just trying to get out of the way. From inside the building? No, from the street in. As I ran in, I was pushing them aside and running through them. In some way, Mr. Truly got from my back to my front. Now, he said he was right behind me. I never did see him until I got in and asked the question of where the stairs was. So evidently, whenever I went in the door, why he came on in. There were several people coming in as I, came in. There were several in front of me and also around my sides and my back. And it seemed to me like a double door deal. Again, I want to point out what Roy Truly told the FBI on November 22, 1963, when he said they saw no one there as he and Baker entered the building. The entrance was teeming with people, so the only reason for Truly drawing attention to this was the fact that Lee Oswald had been saying he was out with his boss Bill Shelley in front. Truly was saying, no, he wasn't. What other reason could there be? Did they really think the sixth-floor assassin would be in the first-floor vestibule by the front entrance 30 to 40 seconds after the shooting? No, but a man who didn't shoot the president could be, a man designated to be the patsy. Okay, Truly and Baker have now told their stories to the Warren Commission, and it was what it was. They answered all the questions directed to them, and while some of those answers may not have been satisfactory, the questions were answered. As pointed out earlier, looking back, we have absolutely nothing on the record from Baker himself between the end of November 1963 and his Warren Commission testimony in March 1964. While Baker was somewhere, it was Truly who frog-marched us through the process of first to second evolution to get us to the point where we are right now, and it boils down to this. Baker glimpsed Oswald going into the second-floor lunchroom, and Truly said, uh-huh. One might think that after all the Warren Commission testimony that we would be done now. If so, one would be wrong. In our next video, we'll see how the story isn't finished yet. Until then, this is Stan Dane, and as always, keep on rocking.